Hello dear, Rose here, writer, director, etc. of this podcast audio drama, welcoming you to the third season of the Wessex dramas The Laodicean. This novel was the last of Thomas Hardy's Novels of Ingenuity trilogy. The story is a gentle romantic comedy set in a rather indecisive heiress's castle. I must warn you, Victorian intrigue, cross-purposes and architecture feature rather heavily in this tale. So throw on a tea gown, put your toes on the fender and tell the butler you are not at home, and let's dive into the drama.
Distancy and his sister walk through the woods from Markton. It is cold and windy. They are well wrapped up and walk briskly from the woods along the path in the park and then out onto the causeway. Paula, dressed in a gothic black velvet gown, is pacing slowly up and down the gallery where there is a fire lit. The wind is moaning outside. Charlotte appears and Paula smiles and kisses her.
Where have you been, my dear?
Sorry to hold dinner up, Paula, but my brother suddenly expressed a wish to meet you, and I hope you will forgive me, but I brought him along.
Oh, don't worry. I told Jenkins to tell Cook to take another hour, so there's no rush. Is he in the drawing room?
No, he...
Distancy steps out from behind the door curtain and they both look up at him. He is wearing full mess and he bows militarily.
Oh, Paula, can I present my brother to you? Captain Distancy? Will, this is Miss Powers.
Distancy comes forward, takes her hand and bows again over it.
Good evening, Captain Distancy.
At your service, madam. I hope that you forgive my turning up without an invitation.
Oh, of course. No member of Charlotte's family needs wait for an invitation. You must stay to dinner and spend the night here, as it will be far too dangerous to fight your way back through the wood in the pitch black.
The captain bows again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Paula quickly looks around at the portraits on the walls.
It's quite astonishing, your resemblance to your ancestors, especially in your uniform. Perhaps you could tell me some of their histories before dinner.
Well, I shall do my poor best.
Paula smiles, takes Charlotte's arm, and accompanied by the captain, they make their way from picture to picture, with Distancy giving a little talk on each. Paula particularly regards the young military men, and smilingly compares them with Distancy, moving her face from one portrait to the live one and back. Distancy frequently looks at Paula, riveted by her beauty. He offers to photograph the paintings, which offer Paula accepts. Jenkins, the big footman, enters and approaches Paula.
Madame, Mr. Dyer is in the drawing room and begs leave to present you with some copies of the castle views.
Thank you, Jenkins. Will you tell Mr. Dyer we are coming, please?
Jenkins bows slightly.
Certainly, madam.
He processes majestically away, and the group, after Paula looks interrogatively at them, follows him. They enter the room. Charlotte sits her brother next to her on the sofa, and Paula goes up to and shakes hands with Dare.
I hope that you will forgive the liberty, Miss Power, but I thought I would bring along some copies of the photographs which I have taken using my new method.
He opens a cardboard portfolio and spreads some photographs out on a circular table. Paula moves them about a little and looks at them.
Oh, they're marvellous. Thank you. Excellent. Do come and have a look, Charlotte.
Charlotte and Distancy come to the table and regard the photos.
I'm so glad that this wonderful old building has been recorded before we started the alteration work. Captain Distancy has also just agreed to take a photographic inventory of the various hundreds of paintings around the castle as well.
Ah, then perhaps I could offer my poor help to him, along with my new method of photographing in poor light.
He surreptitiously boggles his eyes at Distancy, who takes the hint.
Yes, this would be of great help.
Paula turns back to Dare.
Well, if you have this time free to work with Captain Distancy, Mr. Dare, we would be very grateful.
Dare bows.
My pleasure, madam.
Paula smiles.
Will you join us for dinner, Mr. Dare?
Distancy looks a furious no at Dare, who, injuredly aside, takes the hint and looks back to Paula.
Thank you, but I'm afraid that I have a prior engagement. But I shall be glad to return tomorrow morning to assist this brave officer.
Thank you. Excellent. Good evening, then, Mr. Dare.
Dare bows and leaves. Dyer has his camera on a tripod, and Distancy is instructing Dyer about at what angle to take the photograph of an oil painting. Paula walks through the hall and both men smile and incline their heads.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I see you have moved on to the hallway now.
Well, we've certainly captured the gallery ones quite effectively, I think.
Yes. I liked your approach.
Dyer moves discreetly away and begins to examine a painting at the far side of the hall.
What do you want all of these photographs for?
I thought I'd take them with me on campaign as something to distract me of an evening.
Do you need my help with anything, Captain?
Well, I was just wondering if I might add something to complete my military distraction. You.
I'm sorry.
I mean a photograph of that painting of you in the big drawing room.
Me?
Yes, it would help a great deal to cheer me in...
Captain Distancy, I think you go too far.
Distancy bows.
I do apologise if I have offended. It's just that particular painting so captures your look and...
It's only there because my aunt requested it for her birthday. I will see you at lunchtime, Captain.
She smiles faintly and walks on. Dyer ambles up to Distancy's side, with his hands in his pockets.
Oh, it's just hopeless. I can't stand a chance, and that blasted architect will be back soon.
Courage, mon brave. I shall consider how to prolong that architect's stay. I'll go and have a word with Havel during lunch.
He nods and departs. Dyer approaches Havel's office with surprise when he sees 3 men carrying out a desk and loading it, along with other belongings already there, onto a cart. 3 locals stand there staring. He reads a large auction notice on the door and pokes his head inside. Dyer then withdraws his head and addresses the bailiffs.
Do you know where Mr. Havel is?
A bailiff straightens up and tips his cap to Dyer, while his colleagues carry on struggling with the desk.
He be at home, sir. Struggling with his wife.
She ill?
Well, she be none too happy with his bankruptcy. No wife bees her.
No.
She be in full pelt.
No, indeed. Thank you.
He turns and hurries off. Paula, Mrs. Goodman, Charlotte and Distancy are chatting over coffee when Dyer is shown in. He smiles and nods.
Ah, welcome back, Mr. Dyer. We missed you at lunch, but the captain said you had popped into town.
Paula indicates a chair and he sits.
Yes, I did, but I saw a very distressing thing.
Oh? What?
The bailiffs were in Mr. Havel's office and he is to declare bankruptcy.
Oh, the poor man. He was my father's architect. Although I didn't promise it, somehow he thought he would get the work of the restoration.
Apparently, he borrowed upon the expectation of getting the castle work, and now, of course...
Dyer shrugs.
I haven't actually offered the work to Mr. Somerset, but I was intending to do that.
It is very sad.
Yes.
Perhaps I could suggest a remedy?
Paula looks up at him.
You could give Havel the first half of the work immediately, and then, when he is half finished, give the rest to Mr. Somerset.
Ah.
Paula stands up and goes to ring the bell pull.
Yes, good idea. Poor man. I shall send a note for him to come up and receive his commission immediately.
She suddenly thinks, frowns, looks away a little, and sighs to herself. Dyer smirks at their success to Distancy, who looks away. Mr. Havel comes in, and Paula rises and receives him graciously, shaking his hand. She talks, briefly, and hands him his instructions and a cheque for which he is very grateful. He smiles, nods and turns to go, when Paula suddenly seems to remember something.
Oh, I suppose you will be 2 or 3 months then in doing the work, Mr. Havel?
Mr. Havel shakes his head, pityingly and tolerantly.
Good grief, my dear. At least a year.
Oh.
At the very least.
He smiles, gives a half bow and leaves.
A year? Oh no! What have I done?
She sighs and looks glum. Paula stalks through the gallery. When Dyer and Distancy hear her coming, they set to with great concentration at their photographing of her own painting, which they have taken down from her drawing-room wall and laid flat on a table. Distancy looks up at her.
Oh, thank you for eventually giving me permission to copy this, Miss Power. I have already taken one copy. Would you like to see it?
No, thank you. I have no wish to see myself.
She stalks off.
I think it's going to be uphill work, you know.
True, but now that Somerset's out of the way for at least a year, I have plenty of time to win her round.
Dyer grins.
So you have. In that case, you can come and take a dip in the pool in the woods with me this afternoon, Pater. It's so wretched hot.
Swim? In the... I've got no costume with me.
Who needs costumes?
Well,
Somerset sits at his desk, looking at the 2 pieces of post he has opened and read. There was nothing from Paula. There is the letter announcing the competition draw from the Institute also on his desk, and Somerset again picks it up. He goes to the window and rereads it, shakes his head and looks out of the window.
If you choose him, you will have rejected your lover, my dear. Why did I suggest that stupid competition?
He sighs. There is a small congregation for the early service, and Mr. Havel is sitting near the front. The minister, Mr. Woodwell, mounts the pulpit and starts his sermon.
My sermon today is on the subject of deceit, deception and envy.
Mr. Havel's face is one of startlement. He thinks that surely Mr. Woodwell can't know of what he, Havel, did, can he? As the condemnations and mighty gesticulations of Woodwell proceed, Havel becomes increasingly uncomfortable. Havel looks around at the faces of the congregation. They seem to grow large at him and accuse him with minatory fingers. Eventually, Havel gets up and, holding his forehead, scurries out of the chapel to the tutting of the other ladies in the pew, whom he pushes past. Mr. Woodwell looks up. He wonders if Havel's departure is due to his bad sermonising. Paula walks briskly through the door, followed by Charlotte.
Whom are you going to telegraph, Paula?
My architect.
Mr. Havel?
No, Mr. Somerset.
Paula sits down and starts tapping on her machine.
But...
Paula gestures to the letter delivered that morning from Havel, which is lying crumpled on the table where she has just thrown it.
Mr. Havel has resigned. I have no choice.
Charlotte reads and looks chagrined. Paula sends off the telegram, which reads,
Miss Power, Stancy Castle, to G. Somerset, Esquire. Your design is accepted in its entirety. It will be necessary to begin soon. I wish to see and consult with you on the matter about the 10th instant.
Captain Distancy is walking up and down the terrace, admiring the view and smoking. A window opens in the wall above, and a head pops out. That of Distancy's sister. Distancy looks up.
Morning, Lottie. What news have you?
Hello, Will. Just a bit of news. Mr. Havel has resigned and Paula's just telegraphed for Mr. Somerset to come up and get going.
When?
The 10th, I think.
Distancy looks away in exasperation.
Oh, drat it.
Charlotte looks rueful and quickly withdraws. Distancy strolls thoughtfully back into the room where Dyer is just looking up from his camera, which is trained on yet another painting.
I heard every word. We must do something.
Oh, for goodness sake, Will, let me alone.
He stalks away.
That's easy for you, Dad. Tonight you dine in mess with your full 4 courses while I nibble on a few herbs without a stiver to my name.
Right.
Distancy turns and walks back, emptying his pocket of coins onto a small table.
Here you are, Will. Take these. I'll find some more tomorrow. You keep me poor as a crow.
Distancy turns to leave again, when Dyer suddenly speaks excitedly.
Captain, he's coming on the 10th, they said. Well, remember what she's fixed for the 6th? With luck and a bold heart, what mayn't you do in that time?
Distancy looks around and his face softens a little.
Oh, the 6th. Yes. Maybe the game is not up after all.
Somerset is walking along, preoccupied, when he suddenly sees Paula and her maid on the pavement just ahead, and starting to turn towards a shop entry. Miss Power! Paula looks up and smiles.
Mr. Somerset, What a pleasant surprise.
The lady's maid steps a little away so as to give them some privacy.
I have just popped up to London so as to make a few small purchases before the Hunt Ball tonight. Have they invited you?
Hunt ball? No. Are you glad you're going?
Not so very glad.
Well, thanks for that. If it means you will miss me.
He leans in towards her a little.
When will you assure me of something in return for that which I assured you that evening in the rain?
Paula looks a bit embarrassed.
Not before you've built the castle. I haven't even spoken to my aunt yet.
But everything stands as usual?
Paula nods and smiles.
Yes. Not a word more. I have to see the jeweller and then race home.
Somerset bows his head and looks earnest.
I will see you on the 10th then.
Paula smiles and nods.
Yes.
Her maid comes up to join them. Paula and her maid go into the shop. Somerset comes in the door and starts to remove his jacket when he sees a letter on his table. He picks it up and reads the address. It was addressed to Mr. Somerset, Esquire, care of the King's Arms Hotel, Markton. This address was then scratched out and readdressed to his London chambers. Somerset feverishly opens the envelope, takes out and reads an invitation to the Hunt Ball, being held at Markton Town Hall.
Oh no! To think I should be served this trick a second time.
He looks at the clock, and it's 5 o'clock.
Train at 6 should get there around midnight. Suitcase!
He suddenly dashes into his bedroom. Somerset, in full evening dress, enters the ballroom, and as he makes his way through the crowd, suddenly sees the crowd part, with a party coming towards him. This comprises Distancy, supporting his half-fainting sister with Paula. On Charlotte's other side, Mrs. Goodman is also holding Charlotte's fan and card, as well as her own, and her reticule. The party is heading towards them and Somerset hails them.
Miss Power? Mrs. Goodman? Is Miss Distancy not well?
My sister is just a little faint. Too stuffy in here.
We're taking her back to her father's house.
I'm sorry I was late. The letter came to...
That's all right, Mr. Somerset. I will see you soon anyway. Good evening.
The party goes out. Somerset stares at their departing selves and slumps. He puts his hands in his pockets disconsolately and wanders out into a corridor, walking along it a little way. He then sees a poster on the wall and stops to read it with interest.
Stansea Castle. By kind permission of Miss Power, a play will shortly be performed at the above castle in aid of the funds of the county hospital by the officers of the Royal Horse Artillery Markton Barracks, assisted by several local ladies.
Oh, great fun.
A late middle-aged dancer pokes her face over his shoulder and then taps him with her fan. Somerset turns around.
I see that you are eyeing our performance. The play is to be Love's Labour's Lost and the heroine is to be Miss Power. She'll be a marvellous draw for our hospital funds.
And who is to play the hero?
Oh, I imagine that will be Captain Stansea. He was the originator of this wonderful idea, you know.
Yes, he would be.
He gives a spectral smile.
That was an episode of The Laodicean. I would like to thank the amazing cast for this episode. Caro Joy, Catherine Dyer, Neal Highley, John Simpson, Tony Lee, Scott Monroe, James Heseltine, Jonty O'Callaghan, Jenny Dyer, Stephan, John Seal, Peter Allison, Robin Lee, and Tracy Hays. I would also like to thank our brilliant, patient, and multi-talented editor, David Harris, for all of his hard work and patience on this. The music is from Epidemic Sound and is The English Affair by Howard Harper-Barnes. Anyways, see you next time, gentlefolk.